When I was 5 years old, there was a little kid I played with, Jeffty. His real name was Jeff Kinzer, and everyone who played with him called him Jeffty. We were 5 years old together, and we had good times playing together. When I was 5, a Clark bar was as fat around as the gripping end of a Louisville Slugger, and pretty nearly 6 inches long. And they used real chocolate to coat it, and it crunched very nicely when you bit into the center, and the paper it came wrapped in smelled fresh and good when you peeled off one end to hold the bar so it wouldn't melt onto your fingers. Today, a Clark bar is as thin as a credit card. They use something artificial and awful tasting instead of pure chocolate. The thing is soft and soggy. It costs 15 or 20 cents instead of a decent, correct nickel, and they wrap it so you think it's the same size it was 20 years ago, only it isn't. It's slim and ugly and nasty tasting and not worth a penny, much less 15 or 20 cents. When I was that age, 5 years old, I was sent away to my Aunt Patricia's home in Buffalo, New York for 2 years. My father was going through bad times, and Aunt Patricia was very beautiful and had married a stockbroker. They took care of me for 2 years. When I was 7, I came back home and went to find Jeffty so we could play together. I was 7. Jeffty was still 5. I didn't notice anything different. I didn't know. I was only 7. When I was 7 years old, I used to lie on my stomach in front of our Atwater, Kent radio and listen to swell stuff. I had tied the ground wire to the radiator, and I would lie there with my coloring books and my Crayolas, when there was only 16 colors in the big box, and listen to the NBC Red Network, Jack Benny on the Jell-O program, Amos and Andy, Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy on the Chase and Sanborn program, One Man's Family, First Nighter, the NBC Blue Network, Easy Aces, the Juergens program with Walter Winchell, Information Please, Death Valley Days, and best of all, the Mutual Network with The Green Hornet, The Lone Ranger, The Shadow, and Quiet Please. Today, I turn on my car radio and go from one end of the dial to the other, and all I get is 100 string orchestras, banal housewives, and insipid truckers discussing their kinky sex lives with arrogant talk show hosts. Country and western drivel and rock and roll music so loud it hurts my ears. When I was 10, my grandfather died of old age, and I was a troublesome kid, and they sent me off to military school so I could be taken in hand. I came back when I was 14. Jeffty was still 5. When I was 14 years old, I used to go to the movies on Saturday afternoons, and a matinee was 10 cents, and they used real butter on the popcorn, and I could always be sure of seeing a Western with Lash LaRue, or Wild Bill Elliott as Red Ryder with Bobby Blake as Little Beaver, or Roy Rogers, or Johnny Mac Brown. A scary picture like House of Horrors with Rondo Hatton as the Strangler, or The Cat People, or The Mummy, or I Married a Witch with Frederick March and Veronica Lake, plus an episode of a great serial like The Shadow with Victor Jory, or Dick Tracy, or Flash Gordon, and 3 cartoons, a James Fitzpatrick travel talk, Movie Tone News, a sing-along, and if I stayed on till evening, bingo or keno, and free dishes. Today, I go to movies and see Clint Eastwood blowing people's heads apart like ripe cantaloupe. At 18, I went to college. Jeffty was still 5. I came back during the summers to work at my Uncle Joe's jewelry store. Jeffty hadn't changed. Now I knew there was something different about him. Something wrong. Something weird. Jeffty was still 5 years old, not a day older. At 22, I came home for keeps to open a Sony television franchise in town, the first one. I saw Jeffty from time to time. He was 5. What I mean by 5 years old is not that Jeffty was retarded. I don't think that's what it was. Smart as a whip for 5 years old, very bright, quick, cute, a funny kid. But he was 3 feet tall, small for his age, and perfectly formed. No big head, no strange jaw, none of that. A nice, normal-looking 5-year-old kid. except that he was the same age as I was, 22. When he spoke, it was with the squeaky soprano voice of a 5-year-old. When he walked, it was with the little hops and shuffles of a 5-year-old. When he talked to you, it was about the concerns of a 5-year-old. Comic books, playing soldiers, using a clothespin to attach a stiff piece of cardboard to the front fork of his bike so the sound it made when the spokes hit was like a motorboat. Asking questions like, why does that thing do that way? How high is up? How old is old? Why is grass green? What's an elephant look like? At 22, he was 5.